everyone, welcome back to our Speaking Saturday series. And without wasting much time, let's get started with fresh new part 1 questions. Do you prefer to drink coffee or tea? I would say I kind of drink both, but making good coffee is a lot easier than making good tea. So I'd say coffee because it's a lot easier and coffee is, kind of a 0-calorie drink as well. Of course, you can drink black tea, but I don't like black tea. I like black coffee though. In fact, I drink that pretty much every day. Like, I'll have 3, maybe 4 glasses a day, and I know that's a lot, but yeah, that's how I drink my coffee. How do you like to drink coffee? Oh God. Okay, so I like all kinds of coffee, the instant coffee as well. I know that's very like plebeian, but I like instant coffee, especially when, cold coffee. My God, when I was a child, like when I was 11, 12 years old and so on, I would, like take a huge glass of milk, dump a lot of coffee powder into it. And of course, dump a lot of sugar into that as well. Mix it up and like drink that and then go to sleep. So, of course, I don't do that now anymore because, well, obviously that's not very healthy. But nowadays I have black coffee and I experiment with it a lot. I have like this vanilla black coffee that I really, really love. Unfortunately, the consistency isn't always the best. So that's a bit of a problem. But yeah, and nowadays I've even started experimenting with lemon in my black coffee. I know it sounds strange, but it tastes great. Is coffee a popular drink in your country? It really depends on which part of the country you're talking about. In the north and in the west as well, tea is a lot more popular. Generally, tea is a lot more popular. But in the south, in like 4 or so states, coffee is a lot more like super, super popular. Like they have their own coffee growing estates, plantations, and things like that. And it's really good coffee too. I can see why, because coffee doesn't really grow in the north in my country, but it does grow in the south. So depending on where you are, you'll find that coffee is preferred or tea. That depends on your location, really. But if you had to just generalize, I'd probably just say, yeah, tea is a lot more popular in general compared to coffee. When was the last time you had some coffee? Oh gosh, just a couple seconds ago before I started recording this, I had a sip of my now lukewarm black coffee. What's funny is I actually made it at like 5 p.m. and it's 9 p.m. right now. So my cup of coffee, my mug rather, because it's huge, will just be there sitting there for like 4, 5, 6 hours, and I'll just sip on it throughout the day. I know it's strange, it's weird, but that's how I take my coffee. So yeah, and once I finish recording this, I'm probably gonna make myself a nice, fresh cup of coffee and enjoy that. Okay, let's go on to part 2. Ooh, that's fun. Okay. Talk about a businessman that you admire. Please tell me, who is this person? How do you know this person? What kind of business does this person do? And explain why you admire this person. The first person that comes to mind for me is Alex Hormozi. So a bit of backstory. He is the son of Iranian immigrants, right? They escaped the Iranian regime and they went to live in America. A very classic story, yes. However, they had a tough time because the Iranian government, they took all their assets. So they had to essentially, build everything from scratch. So what he did, I came across him actually I think in 2022 is when I came across Alex Hormozi's work, because I was following another social media guru type of person, strategist. And she like posted about meeting him and going to one of these workshops that he had done. And then I was like, this looks interesting. And so I bought his books. He had like 1 book out at the time. He released another book last year and a book this year as well. I love reading the content because it's like business simplified for absolute beginners. And I struggled with a lot of things. So I learned so much about marketing, advertising, sales a little bit as well, making offers, things like that. He really teaches. And the best stuff is you have like tons of content on YouTube, on Spotify. It's all free. The books are, of course, not free. But they're really cheap, they're affordable. And he does all this crazy amount of work, and I just wish I had the same level of productivity. But yeah, and he also has, like, he and his wife run this acquisition .com LLC. So it's like they have this huge building somewhere in Texas where they have like workshops with, struggling businesses and help them to turn a profit. So I think that's really cool. This guy's made me money. So, I mean, some people are like, oh, like, he's a typical social media personality. Some people say that now, that, oh, he's, gotten too popular and stuff like that. And they compare him to people like Ty Lopez and whatever. But I don't think so, because he's given so much stuff away for free entirely. And the stuff is really valuable, and it's simple and, quite easy to execute as well. The kind of value that he provides is insane, especially considering that a lot of it is entirely free, apart from the books, of course. So yeah, they essentially help, all kinds of businesses. And finding him has been great because it changed the way I think about a lot of business fundamentals. So, I'll always be grateful for whatever led me down this path. And, I found his work, because otherwise I would have still been struggling. Okay, then we go on to part 3. And I think let me just see if I can, okay, great. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. All right. Yeah, I think I should zoom out, shouldn't I? Yeah, let me just adjust that real quick, because what happened is okay, great. That should work. Okay, all right. What do you think is the appropriate retirement age for men and women? Well, this is a tough question to respond to, because, see, the thing is that in each country you have different expectations, right? Longevity is not the same across the world, and women tend to live longer than men, but they tend to have fewer years of education, fewer years of employment, greater gaps in their employment, because a lot of women, of course, will have to bear, the full responsibility of housework and childcare and whatnot. So there is no way to say what is appropriate, because again, it's not like 30, 40 years ago when people just work jobs because they had to. Nowadays, a lot of people work jobs that they're really, really passionate about. And I don't see why you have to retire at 60 or 70. I mean, if your body is still fit, your brain still works, and you love what you do, you enjoy it, you're not forced to do it, then why do you even need to retire? I never understood the concept. Retirement only makes sense if you have a physical disability, mental disability, or you just hate your work and just want to not have to work after 70 or something like that, then sure, go ahead. But I personally don't think we need like a set retirement age. That's for you to decide. You even have nowadays you have this idea of financial independence, retire early. So a lot of people will plan their lives in such a way that they get to retire by the age of 40, 50 even, which I think is very cool. To each his own. What kind of qualities do people need to run their own business? I think first of all, you have to be very tenacious. You have to be able to accept rejections and failures and not be bogged down by them, which is a lot easier said than done. You also need to be very creative, because you'll have all kinds of problems, and finding the answers is a journey in itself. Because every business is unique. Right? You may, of course, have similar businesses, but the problems that you face and the problems that somebody else faces, they're not going to be exactly the same. So you need to be creative in figuring out solutions to problems. How do I fix this? How do I improve something? How do I deliver, higher value, higher quality to my clients, customers, and so on? All of that is not easy to really do. It's also, you have to be prepared to work really long hours. There's no 9 to 5. There's no 9 to 5. It's 24/7, 365, really. There's no weekends. There, you can forget the concept of having a fixed, time of working, at least in the beginning, because when you're starting things up, if you're not that passionate about it, then you really shouldn't. I think passion is also really important, because if you're not passionate, what's the point? Just go get a job. Is it easy to set up and run a new business in your country? I would say it is somewhat easy, depending on what kind of business you have. If it's a typical brick and mortar business, is it like, what kind of industry are you in? There's no straight answer to this because if it's, for example, an online business or if you're selling services instead of, actual products, then you have an easier time too. But then there's also a few limitations. I think with time, though, it has definitely gotten way easier than it used to be like 10, 15 years ago, for sure. No matter which domain you're in, setting up your business has become easier over the past decade or so, I would say, because the government has made a lot of efforts into streamlining a lot of things, including, setup, registration costs and stuff like that, taxes and things of that nature as well. Shutting down a business, so that's a different story entirely because that's a bit more complicated. But I think they've done a good job in simplifying things. But, it does depend heavily on your industry. I have read many accounts of people who want to do something groundbreaking, but they've run into a lot of problems. So that depends on the kind of business. What do you think are the major factors that contribute to the success of a business? Well, the founder or founders, they can make or break, and employees as well. You have to, but that kind of just, circles back to the founders because you have to have all the skills. You have to have, skills in terms of advertising, marketing, sales, product development, testing. There are so many things that you have to be good at. And it's not like a school where you have fixed things to do. It's not like that. Every day comes with its own set of challenges. So the quality of your founders or founder will ultimately be the quality of the business. If the founder is not, inventive, not proactive, then the business will fail. I mean, a lot of people say you need luck, but luck, you create your own luck. That's what I think. Because if you're not consistent, you're not, doing the things that you need to, upskilling yourself, learning about things, if you're not passionate as well, nothing can help, that kind of a business that's run. So I think the one thing that really is important is the quality of the person who's, running or managing the business, or the people that are managing the business. All right then, so that was our test for today. Don't forget to check back in next week on Wednesday and Saturday when I'll be writing an essay and delivering a new set of speaking responses. Until then, I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.